Three, two, one. What's going on, everyone? It's Ash on Comics. It's New Comic Book Day. It's middle of the night, time for bedtime for most of you. And I'm here to read you guys all a bedtime story. So hopefully you're excited about that. And yeah, let's see who's in the chat tonight. We got, well, Jimmy is technically the first, since Melissa was here. She left. Actually, I'm the first. Ash1138. I guess I was first. So, Jimmy, you're third. But thanks for being here because you're actually still here. Dragon Majesty, good to see you. Let's see. I gotta turn off this music. It's really hard kind of running all this stuff in the background and talking and doing other stuff. It's kind of like chewing bubblegum and rubbing your head at the same time. Let's see. Tehillim, good to see you all. Bianca fights the zombies. Aloha, hail, how's it? Doing all right. Hopefully all of you guys are safe and sound, tucked up in your beds, not getting the coronavirus. And yeah, we'll be here to read some comics tonight. Now, this was kind of impromptu. I apologize that it didn't. I really want to schedule these ahead of time if I can give you guys some notice. I had some bad fortune recently. A few days ago, my computer shut down and wouldn't restart. Well, actually, it didn't shut down. It completely locked up. Windows stopped responding, and I had to just hard boot it, hard shut it down. And then when I tried to boot it back up, it wouldn't start. Like, it would start, but it would just get to this error, like Windows couldn't load. Ran some tests, did some diagnostics and stuff, and come to find out, the computer couldn't detect an operating system. And that's never a good thing. So I couldn't get it to boot even in safe mode or anything. And that was pretty scary because I'm not really in a position to buy a new PC right now. So I was like, this sucks. But fortunately, also the other problem is I don't have a Windows disk. So I was like, in the old days when I built my own PCs, I could just reformat and, do it all. But with my laptop, I went to laptops about a decade ago. I just went laptop and never went back. And my current laptop didn't come with a Windows disk. And modern laptops, they don't. And fortunately, the Google was my friend, and went online. And my computer's kind of old; it's not really supported anymore. It's an Asus laptop, and so I know I wasn't going to get any help from Asus, which I pronounce Asus because I've been calling it Asus forever, and it feels weird saying Asus. So if I say it wrong, hey, Eric Breen's in the channel. Story time with Grandpa Ash. Aw, thanks, Dad. That was very nice of our pops to come in and wish us all well. It's always good to see Eric Breen. I kid, of course. No, I'm not. I don't kid about always good to see him. I kid about. Anyways, I'm moving on. So my story about my misfortunes. Turns out that this computer they have a hidden partition where it's got basically a Windows image file, and you can boot to that partition anytime. You just have to hold down the F9 key, and it's like this. I didn't know it was there or anything, so sure enough, that works. You can boot to it, and then it's got software built in. It'll re-image your drive for you. It's really super simple, but this machine, like I said, it's old enough. I don't keep my manual around. It can, I was like, so thanks to the Google, and our mysterious overlords that control all the information and will one day enslave us all. At least I got my laptop working. So good to see you guys. Tonight we have a couple comics lined up, and hopefully there's enough of you here to enjoy listening. It's got this image from Gideon Falls last issue that we did, the previous episode, which was several days ago. That was issue 2. Let's see here. Tonight's first opening act, if you will. The structure of this program is to read 2 comics. Oftentimes, I'm going to try to go for comics that I haven't read before, if I can. And we'll see how that goes. But the idea is, because a lot of people were talking about they didn't want me just to read one comic and then like the end, especially with modern comics not really being a one and done story. I opened up with the original episode with one of my favorite comics ever, which was X-Men. And I have to, another thing is I have to do this on Comixology. Well, potentially not anymore, because I don't know if some of you guys remember, I was having problems using StreamYards, with sharing my screen, and everything would goof up. And that's why I went back to OBS Streamlabs, which, it's nice and professional and everything, but it's a little complicated, although I'm starting to figure it out. And I realized that there was like an updated version I didn't know about. So when I had to reinstall it this time for Windows, it had all these new features, and I'm like, oh, what's all this? So they actually made connecting to YouTube even easier than before, which was my big problem in the past. What was I saying? It's tough. Really, it is tough to like do other things and keep the dialogue going. Mr. Rockfish, I see him in the chat. Good to see you. So anyways, now that I've reinstalled Windows and everything, and one of my problems that I was having with my PC was it being kind of old and not having a Windows disk, was that I couldn't form. I've been wanting to for years. I used to be one of those guys. I built my own PCs, and like every year I would just reformat it, put fresh install Windows, keep it running nice and smooth and clean. But I don't have a disk, so my machine's been running crappy, and I was like, man, I really need it, but I don't want to risk it and mess up and then not have a PC. So this kind of forced my hand, and now a lot of the problems that I've been having are gone, because some of the problems I was having was like I lost drivers, and I was trying to fix things, and whenever you try to fix things, sometimes you delete things. And so anyways, it's back to the factory spec. That's the point. And not that any of you really care about this, though I'm just kind of blabbering on right now, because I want to give a chance for people to kind of come into the chat, and not just immediately go into the comic, because, YouTube doesn't send out alerts immediately. Most of the channels I watch, and speaking of channels I watch, RDV, Real Dr. Vankman's here, frequent regular on Englantine's channel. It's one of the channels I watch. Oftentimes I won't get an alert until like 15 minutes into the stream. They're like, hey, he's streaming. You're like, thanks. So I like to give a chance for people to come in before I actually dive into the main material. Plus, it's a good opportunity to talk with the chat, and so forth. So, yeah, I hope everyone's doing good. Vankman, how are you? By all means, guys, to keep up the chat. It gives me something to kind of feed off of. I don't know if any of you guys have been, reading comics. And if you are, like, put down anything that's, interesting that you've been reading. Maverick has joined us. Hey, Maverick, good to see you, man. So I'm doing the first story arc of Gideon Falls, and we are on issue 3 tonight. Episode 1, I didn't have really a plan on what I was doing. I kind of just winged it. Vankman says, we purposely hold off on your alert. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. He's like, we wait until there's absolutely nothing to do, like even the paint's dry, so we can't watch it dry anymore, and then we'll come and watch Ash on Comics. And even then, I don't know if I'll ever see Englantine in here, but that's all right. He's probably sleeping. No, he's not. We all know he's not sleeping right now. Yes, he says Mutant Massacre. Says Maverick. So I was planning on doing a full arc of comics as kind of the main event, so you can figure about most of these live streams will be, 4 to 6 parts. I don't know if I really want to do any like long things. I thought about that, of doing like a big long episodic thing. Maybe a 12 issue run. Like one of the things I thought about doing was Hawkman. Hawkman. Speaking of Hawkman, Dragon Majesty, apparently great minds think alike. Finally read Hawkman 18. Awesome issue. Bravo, sir. Good man. Anyone who reads Hawkman is a friend of mine. So yeah, I was thinking about Hawkman 1 through 12 because a lot of people haven't read it still. They just listen and they nod their head when you talk about it. They're like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. But then they don't go and buy it. So I thought maybe I could convince people of the awesomeness of Hawkman. I don't know, but it's a 12-issue run. And the problem with doing a longer one like that is if it's not a comic people are interested in, then it's like 12 streams where people just like, nope, tune out. So if I keep it down to a shorter run, and it's a comic that people aren't interested in, they may stick around even because they know it's like, I don't know, it's not going to be 12 live streams of this. It's going to just be 4 to 6. And, that's the other reason I do a single comic for the opening act. And I figured I had like 4 issues left or so approximately of Gideon Falls. And since I at the time had to do Comixology comics, because Comixology lets me go panel by panel and do the cool transitions, which normally I don't like to read comics that way, but on the screen, you're watching on the YouTube screen. Some of you may be watching this on your phone. If I put the whole page up there, I don't know. I think it works better in this particular case. Eric says Ash doesn't do long videos. I keep making fun of me, but you do like a 7-hour stream every Saturday. Anyways, I'm on that stream sometimes too, so I don't know. I enjoy talking. Not that I like hearing myself talk. I like talking to people. I have to do the stream solo because no one wants to stream with me. I'm poor old Ash. Anyways, no, but I thought this was a cool way to do a solo stream. Anyways, back to what I was really saying about X-Men. So I looked on my Comixology and they gave away a handful of X-Men issues a little while back, and I pick up anything that's free. And they gave away some of these classic Chris Claremont issues. So last week I did X-Men 201, and then this week is X-Men 210 is one of the ones they gave away. And now this comic, just as a piece of trivia here, is the first comic I read when I started reading when I started collecting comics. Now, the first comic I ever read was actually X-Men 162, but I wasn't collecting. It was just, I was a kid and I went into, I don't even remember where it was, like the drugstore or something. It was on a spinner rack and it was like, cool. And, I got it. But when I decided, oh man, I'm going to buy comics and like get them every month, I went in and X-Men 211 was the comic that was actually out. But this was also like right behind it because, they keep multiple months, like 1 or 2 months, on the stand. And so this was actually the first one that I got. So I thought it'd be really cool to kind of revisit this era, especially when I went through and reread issue 201. I was like, man, they just don't make comics like this anymore. So we got this one this week. Next week is I forget the issue number, but it's the first appearance of Gambit issue. And then the following week is going to be the John Byrne issue when John Byrne took over from Chris Claremont. It's the very first issue of the all-new Uncanny X-Men when Jim Lee got his own book, and Chris Claremont and Jim Lee went over to the new X-Men title. And then X-Men was taken over by John Byrne and Will Spertasio. So Maverick says 162 has the Brood, right? Yeah, that's the cover with Wolverine on his knees. And is being infected by the Brood. It's still one of my all classic issue. So good. So yeah, that's the idea. This book will be obviously something I've read. I haven't read this book probably 20 years though. Eric says 266. That would be the Gambit first appearance. Yeah, it's got to be the Gambit first appearance because I think the John Byrne issue is like 281, something like that. I could look it up, but it's not really a point right now. Anyways, I guess, we can probably dive into this. I wish I had a timer. When I use StreamYards, they have like a little timer that tells you how long you've been streaming. So, not here. Let's see. Are you guys ready to read some comics, or should I keep blathering? I think I know the answer. Dragon Majesty says, yeah, Gambit's 266. That's right. All right, let's get into this. All right, so X-Men, the Uncanny X-Men, issue 211, used to be 75 cents. Can you believe that? This was some sort of anniversary of sorts, the Marvel's 25th anniversary. Now, I never miss an opportunity to mock Marvel. And hold on, let me resituate myself here for a second. Got my dog running around, you could probably hear. All right, sorry about that. What was I saying? Oh, so I was saying I never miss an opportunity to mock Marvel, and neither should you. You should always mock things that are stupid because it gets people to not do stupid things. People hate being mocked, probably more than most things. You can yell at them and you call them stupid, but usually that just makes people kind of defensive. But when everyone just stops and points fingers and just laughs, you realize they don't like to be in that position. So Marvel's one of those ones because of the past several years, they've just been really predatory towards fans and local comic book shops. And you may be aware recently Marvel had a big 80th anniversary. Remember that? Marvel Comics 1000, the fake 1000th issue, and it's 80th anniversary. Now I want you to notice something here. This issue here clearly says Marvel 25th anniversary. Now this issue came out in 1986. So let's do the math. Shall we? 1986 would be 4 years until 1990. And then 1990 to 2020 would be 30 years. So 34 years plus 25 would be 59. That seems a bit short from 80. Wouldn't you think? How is Marvel's 25th anniversary in 1986 and then 34 years later it's their 80th anniversary? No one knows. It's the great mysteries of the universe. But, it's of course, it's because DC had an 80th anniversary, and so Marvel has to have one too. Pardon me while I take a swig of my drink. Okay, let's get into Uncanny X-Men 211. If I can get this to work. Why is it not working? All right. Of course it doesn't want to work. Okay. Now I'm on a delay, so I'm watching it on my iPad to make sure things show so I can see what you guys can see, but Streamlabs has like about a 10-second delay. I think I got things going here, so Stan Lee presents Massacre, a mile beneath Manhattan streets, in the shadowed secret tunnels wherein the Morlocks dwell, it begins. Hi there, I'm Scalp Hunter. We're the Marauders. Starring the Uncanny X-Men. We kill mutants. Who's next? Bum, bum, bum. Now, taking another cue here to mock Marvel. You may be wondering, wait, this is the Marauders. I thought the Marauders was that team led by Kitty Pryde. No, that's the new X-Men that Hickman's screwing up. This is the actual Marauders that modern Marvel doesn't remember. These guys are cold-blooded killers that murder. You're gonna see they murder tons of mutants. So the idea of the X-Men calling themselves the Marauders, it's kind of like a bunch of Jews calling themselves the Nazis. It's really stupid. But anyways, I digress. Look here at the bottom, by the way. Notice how in the modern X-Men comics it has 2 full giant white pages to show you who did the comic, because that's the modern ego. That's the ego of modern creators. Like, look at us. We're these massive superstars, and yet we sell 1/10 at best of the book, you know, that we used, that, you know, these creators did. But look at these guys. It's just bottom, this little line at the bottom. Chris Claremont, John Romita Jr., Brett Blevins, Al Williamson, inker. I just, the humility of the previous creators who were great. Yeah. Anyways, so my dog right now, of course, is begging to go out. Sorry, I'm trying to wrangle my dog because she's gonna make noise. All right, let's see if we can get back into business. I just have nothing but professionalism here. Normally, I would cut this out in a video, but it's live. Okay, so back to the story. I'm sorry I'm boring everyone. We kill mutants. Who's next? Morlocks are outcasts from society. As they feel they're being mutants, brands them outcasts from the human race. They live deep underground because they believe that here they're safe. What you talking, man? This some kind of haha, hey. Nope. I'm a serious man, engaged in a serious business. Clack. And I never joke. Ka-chack. With people who are about to die. Boom! Bam! Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm a man of skills and grace, Riptide by name. He spins so fast, he becomes a blur. And laughingly releases razor-keen stars and spikes from his outstretched hands, to deadly effect. Blood sprays the room, screams fill the air. Toys can't hurt me none. I grab you, I break you. You got powers like us. Maybe you mutants. Why do you do this? It's our job, and we take pride in doing it very well. Scrambler's touch instantly disrupts the Morlock's power. And without that invulnerability to protect him, boom! But amidst the slaughter, a young woman dives for the wall, biting back tears at the pain of a wounded arm and back and greater pain of loss. As acid exuding like sweat from her pores sears a path through solid stone. Help! Callisto, help! Everyone, come quickly, murder! Strangers in our tunnels, hurry, please hurry, or they'll all kill us. They know we're here, Scalp Hunter. Good. That means we won't have to hunt them down. Arclight, can you handle the wall? No problem. Wham! Harpoon, the girl's yours. She shall not escape. The harpoon is metal in the Inuit's hand, transmuted to raw energy the instant he throws it. Yeah! The young Morlock's life ends before her scream. Sybil! Don't know who you chumps are. Don't care either, but you're gonna die for this. Do tell. You're Callisto, huh? Head of honchos of this tribe of losers? Babe, you're mine. As for the rest, Vertigo, twist 'em inside out. Radical scalp, be my thrill. Suddenly, for the Morlocks, it's as if the ground has become fluid as water, wild as the ultimate roller coaster ride. Then Arclight makes things worse. Crack-a-throom! However, beyond a bend, beyond the reach of Vertigo's influence, Piper plays a wicked tune. Let's look at the chat here. See, Quirk says the art is awesome. Who is this? Well, it's John Romita Jr. says says Comics by Perch. And then Quirk says I love JR. Perch says Brett Blevins as well. Such a far cry from Jr.'s current Action comic works. Whatever happened in JR, where his art changed so much, it's a mystery. And Computer Robots, hey, good to see you. And good to see you too, Perch. Welcome, both of you. I appreciate you coming by to hear me read some good comics in this day of quarantining. About JR, there's a lot of controversy about him, and people, JR sucks, and this and that. You gotta remember, man, the dude's old. Like, I don't think he was a young guy when this book came out 35 years ago, whatever. So, I mean, if we look at all great artists, pretty much they start losing I don't know if it's they lose their touch or if they just lose their ability to care. It's like Neil Adams. Like, he doesn't draw like he used to. Very few great artists remain, I'm thinking of all the greats back in my day. Frank Miller. I mean, everyone can look at Frank Miller's art today and you're like, dude, it's like scribbles. So I really just kind of blame that. I think John Romita Jr. is just kind of getting older and so forth. I also think inking is a huge deal today. It was a huge deal. It's not today. All the great inkers are gone. And a lot of artists want to ink themselves. And just because you can pencil doesn't mean you can ink. And I think John Romita Jr., benefited from great inkers of the past. So, moving back onto the comic. Where was I? So, Piper plays a wicked tune, and we can see a bunch of crocodiles or alligators in the sewers, drawing his pets from their hidey holes. And now this kind of plays off of a bit. Back in the 80s, there was people used to talk about New York and make kind of jokes that there were like alligators in the sewers. So Eric informs us that JR was 30 when he did this. So that would make him today about half Eric's age, right? Am I right? 64, 65? I don't know. I don't know how old actually Eric is. Let's see. Hidey holes. Let's learn how to operate the computer, Ash. Giving everyone vertigo, okay. And hurling them into the fray. And we see the bats coming in from behind. Meanwhile, an hour's drive north of the city, all is peaceful and serene at Professor Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters. A perfect afternoon for catching up on too long neglected chores. Like the Morlocks, the residents and students are mutants, consisting of a novice class whose co-leader, Danny Moonstar, is washing her stallion, Bright Wind. Oh, look at that. Oh, it's a cute little horse, and then she's washing it. You can see everyone, look at they're like baling hay. When have you seen the X-Men do stuff like this today? And the senior team, the X-Men, by nature as well as choice, they're heroes, and they've the wounds to prove it. Need a hand, Colossus? Thank you, Wolverine. But Rogue and I are doing fine by ourselves. Besides, Sugar, you're supposed to be taking life easy. You've taken some pretty heavy hits lately. Even your body needs a decent chance to heal. I'm fine, girl. You ain't, tough guy, and you're too honest to deny it. Snick. At Rogue's words, gleaming blades snapped from bionic housings implanted in Wolverine's forearms. Pause. Implanted in Wolverine's forearms. I'm still bitter about stupid bone claws. So those of you who are old enough to be back in the day of comics like I am, I know Breen, perhaps Perch, I'm sure maybe Maverick, some of you guys that remember 80s comics, I'm still bitter. Oh, at least they're made of bone. No, they were implanted. Right here. Here's the evidence. Anyways, moving on. These claws are forged of adamantium, the strongest metal known, and can cut through anything. His bones are laced with the same substance. They can't be broken. He's a born fighter, one of the deadliest men on Earth, and consequently, a rotten patient. Inactivity's driving him buggy. He has recovered from worse injuries, far faster than this rogue. I fear something with him is very wrong. Inside the kitchen, the youngest X-Men, Kitty Pryde, scrounges munchies. This young lady is certain to ruin your appetite for dinner. That assumes I'll have time for supper, which I won't. Mr. Headmaster Magneto, oh great and powerful master of magnetism, sir, because I've got term papers due. And since Professor Xavier is a school, if I don't produce any work, I flunk. Folks wouldn't like that, nor would I. I'm running on empty. Then by all means refuel. Just don't make a habit of such behavior. I can write a thesis on ethical philosophy and save the world simultaneous, sir. Or I can't write a thesis, sorry, but it'll be fun to try. Using her phasing ability to literally walk on air, Shadowcat returns through walls, floors, and ceilings to her room, where her best friend and pet dragon await. Food break! About time, I'm starved. While the girls dig in, Wolverine makes his weary way across the back lawn from the stable. He isn't in the best moods. Surprise, Bamf! Nightcrawler. Cute, elf. Nice stunt. What were you trying to prove? Thought I was well enough to teleport. You thought wrong, bub. My editor, we're some pair, Ja. So bashed and battered, we're pretty much useless. Yup. What say you then we drown our mutual sorrows in the time-honored traditional manner? Who's buying? Toss a coin. Whoa! Cripes! Something big, punching fast. I'm way off my mark. Should have heard it coming. Aid us, X-Men. Beg, implore, do I for salvation. Strangers in the alley, they kill Morlocks. Die. The infirmary. Multiple blade and gunshot wounds, massive internal trauma, pulverized bone. It's a miracle he reached us. Desperation breeds miracles, nurse. I like how the person is just no name. It's just nurse. Oh, it's just a good time to look at the chat. Maverick says your Colossus impression is really good. That's because I'm secretly a Russian bot. Epidoxa, hoping I'm pronouncing that right, says, will you say it like that when you have your next In-N-Out food break? Probably not. Let's see. Back to the comic. Her name is Betsy Braddock, called Psylocke, and she's a telepath. She's also a newcomer at Xavier's school, as yet unproven, unaccepted, as part of either team, which is why she hesitates fractionally before she speaks. In his dying memory, I saw a cadre of super beings, massacring every living thing in the Morlock tunnels. No! The horrors of my childhood, born again. Only this time the mutants are the victims instead of the Jews. We involve Storm. I lead the Morlocks as well as the X-Men, Logan. Of course we must go to their rescue. But Magneto, it would be best if you remained behind. As headmaster, your primary responsibility is to the school and the New Mutants. If something happens to us, if an attack comes here, they will need you. I understand. Every fiber of my being shrieks for action, but I will not fail my students' trust again. Kitty's roommate and best friend, as well as Colossus' little sister, Ileana, teleports the team from the mansion to the alley. The giant tunnel running the length of Manhattan Island that is the heart of the Morlock's domain. I got Morlock scents close by. Better brace yourselves, though. This won't be pretty. Callisto, she is wounded, but she lives. Stay by Storm, you two, while I search for more survivors. My cousin Kenny in Chicago works in a slaughterhouse. He took me on a tour once. It smelled like this. Oh, Peter, I knew some of these people. They were friends. We better watch our step, Cat, or we'll end up the same. Watch it, everyone. Trouble. But even as the X-Men move, Vertigo strikes. All yours, Rip. Cut 'em loose from life. Of these X-Men, Storm, Colossus, Nightcrawler, and Wolverine have fought Vertigo before. See, in Marvel Fanfare, number 3 and number 4, back when they had editors. Continuing on. As a result, they're better able to resist her attack. I will shield the wounded. What's happening? Can't see straight. Wow. Stupid blades ain't hurting me none, but they're running out. They're sure ruining my outfit. Try my way, darling. Bamf. Snick. Tact to zing. Don't let 'em touch you. As Wolverine speaks, Nightcrawler teleports to where he figures he can do the most good. Crack! Yeah, you go, Kurt. You're very good at dishing out misery, Fräulein. Let's see how well you take it. Careful, Elf. You may not be up to this. Stay close where we can cover you when you land. Bamf, 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 bamf. Side note here. For those of you, obviously, there's a precursor to this. Nightcrawler took really serious injuries, and he's been recuperating. And ever since, he hasn't been up to full strength. That's kind of why you probably figured it out, but just giving you a little background. That's dealt with Vertigo, and very nearly with me as well. Nightcrawler! Riptide's got the drop on him, but Kurt hasn't realized it yet. Port out of there now! Kurt Wagner has a split second to save himself, but his stunt with Vertigo pushed his body and power far beyond his limits. He tries to teleport, but nothing happens. And then, it's too late. Kurt! Oh, Storm, he's cut all over. There's so much blood. I feel the pulse. We still have a chance to save him. Find me a cloth, something, anything to use as temporary bandages. Should have been faster. Should have made certain Riptide was KO'd. I've got the creep's scent. He can run, but never hide. Amen to that, chum. Magic, teleport the wounded home to the mansion. I'll take him right to the infirmary. You want I should come back with reinforcements? No. This killing ground is no place for the New Mutants. Hurry, child. Those lives depend on you. I'm gone, Storm. Our school nurse, Sharon, she can't handle this on her own. Maybe I better corral Dr. McTaggart from Scotland as well. Good luck, X-Men. We won't be the ones who need it, kid. Your clothes are ruined, Rogue. Take my vest. I'm obliged, Storm. The risk is greater, but we can cover more territory if we separate If we separate. Our primary mission is to save Morlock's lives afterwards. Afterwards, we will deal with the Marauders. Meanwhile, elsewhere. Howdy, folks. You're Anna Lee, ain't you? Projecting empath. If you're using your power to frighten me off, wasted effort, ragbag. I don't scare easy. Please, do what you like to me, but spare these children. They've done nothing. They were born. That's enough. Wrong plea, old lady. To the wrong man. Didn't work months ago when I nailed a quartet of Morlock brats on the surface. Won't work now. Blam! Jeez, these word balloons are freaking nuts. I'm trying to figure out who's saying what. This is like a maze. Oh, sorry about that. I had to break up. I guess now it's time to check the chat. Mavericks is freaking brutal. Jeez, yeah, totally. This was my first X-Men book. Well, sorry. My first book, like, starting to, jumping on point. So you can imagine me as a kid. I think I was like 12 or 13 when I'm just like, oh my God, this is like an amazing time to jump in on X-Men. Everywhere we look, Peter, we find nothing but bodies. Isn't anyone down here alive? Let us hope so, Katya. Let us pray. Are you all right? I'll never be all right again, but I won't quit. What's that? A gunshot. My job's done, sweets. Your turn. I thought this would be a rougher assignment. Be patient, Arclight. Our day's still young. Scalp hunter, hit the dirt. Colossus shows up and throws a big something. Looks like a big boulder. Piece of something. I can't tell for sure. Go crow. Watch those rock shards, Ark. The shrapnel's deadly. That's why we wear body armor, mister. It will not save you from Colossus, murderers. Won't have to. Pow! Chwam! Look at him, he's flying through the tunnel. Colossus. Scalp, he's no Morlock. We're up against the X-Men. Hot dog, some real competition. Thoom! Thought they'd be more trouble. Rusky's history, along with anyone else in that tunnel section. Crash. No! Colossus! Miss the big guy, honey? I can remedy that. Oh. Boom! Now, if you just saw this panel out of context, you might be like, oh my goodness, but we all know that Kitty Pryde can phase. Huh? What are you, girl, a ghost? Worse, a shadow cat. You can't touch me, killer. You can't hurt me. Any more than you already have by slaughtering my friends. But I can hurt you. Oh, sorry, that was her saying. But I can hurt you. I can phase you into the ground and let you go. You'd be maimed if you're lucky, dead. But my teammate comes first. Then it'll be your turn. Who am I kidding? Talking nasty is easy. I just pretend I'm Wolverine. But it's just pretend. They deserve killing, but I can't do it. Does that make me a coward? Life is so wonderful, so precious. Why would anyone want to end it? Spare these two. They'll kill again. I know that. Killing them first is right. It's justifiable. But I can't. That's a good pausing point here. For those of you reading modern X-Men, will know that this Kitty Pryde is very different than the Jonathan Hickman Kitty Pryde who runs around calling herself a marauder and phasing objects into people left and right. She's pretty much a cold-blooded killer. But we can see here that her character is very much a pacifist. She doesn't believe in killing at all. So those of you like Jimmy that maybe haven't read some of the, maybe helps illuminate why some of us older fans are upset about the new X-Men. Elsewhere, the other X-Men. They lead a pitifully small band of Morlock survivors towards the tunnel, connecting their domain with the X-Men's estate 40 miles away. We're moving too slowly, boss. All these Morlocks are wounded, Wolverine. Some cannot travel any faster. Is the way clear? Seems to be. Lots of familiar scents all of a sudden. What the devil are they doing down here? And one of them... This is crazy. I'm crazy. It can't be. Flatten! Wolverine grabs back of Aurora's head and makes her duck. Zramp! Optic blast? Yup. Sensed its pressure wave a split second before the beam itself. Cyclops? And Angel and the Beast. All the original X-Men. Here? Now? Why? How about we ask them? Barracoon! So much for that idea. Explosion blocked the tunnel between us and Cyclops' outfit. Is it Arclight? This is her style. She is not the only powerhouse present, Rogue. I'm okay. Storm and these two kids are badly hurt. Annalise shielded them with her own body. We left 3 behind, though. They weren't so lucky. Neither was Annalise. Scalp Hunter, he was the one who murdered my babies. Said so. Roasted. How could anybody be so cruel? To some dear old duffer, that comes naturally. Truer words, my dear disfigured darling, were never spoken. Zark! Marauders! Wolverine is our deadliest foe. Harpoon, send him to join his ancestors. Been tried before, chump. That ain't easy. Even as a Harpoon's slay spear strikes, Wolverine's claws draw blood. Both men fall. Only one screams. Neither dies. But that can quickly change. My touch will neutralize your weather powers, Wind Witch. A pity, Scrambler, that I have none. Sock. She just cold clocks him. Think you're tough, huh, fella? A real hot number? Callisto breaks ribs as Storm did his jaw, and Scrambler spits teeth, coughs blood. King of the mountain? Prove it. Poor boy needs a rescue. Coming right up, sweetheart. Stars and spikes hum through the air, followed by screams. Many are hit. Too many die. Riptide laughs. They do not care. This is a sport to them, a game. I am the least vulnerable in their powers and their weapons. I must be the wall that stands between them and my comrades. By the white wolf, it's as if I am on fire inside. Hang on, big guy. I'll hit those marauder bozos with Scrambler, so his powers will... No! Unfortunately, the Korean youth touches Rogue first. Their mutant abilities are similar. He disrupts powers. She steals them. In this fateful moment of contact, they both neutralize each other. Harpoon takes the immediate advantage of Rogue's sudden vulnerability. Shadowcat's reaction is this. Gosh, I'm having trouble. Shadowcat's reaction is as instinctive as it is unselfish. As the spear strikes, she tackles and phases Rogues, hoping and praying that Harpoon's murderous energy blast will pass harmlessly through their ghost-like forms. A nice idea, the bravest of tries. Hearing Kitty's screams, Colossus lunges for Harpoon, but Riptide blocks his way. Since you care so much about the brat, how about I send you to paradise with her? Hurricane winds, you see, can punch a straw through solid oak, and I can spin way faster than that. I figure my robust Russian friend, that my speed and my blades can cut even you down to size. We are not friends, Riptide. More screams from those struck by the spikes and stars that missed Colossus. Sounds like Riptide's laughter will haunt Peter Rasputin's memories. And you are wrong. Crack. Harpoon, make peace with your gods, little man. You are next. Where is he? Gone. Scrambler with him. Appears the fight's over. Peter killed Riptide, and if those two hadn't rabbited, he'd have done the same to them. It's what they deserve. But killing's my job, or Wolverine's. Peter was made for gentler things. Kitty, are you... Merciful goddess! No, 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 no! I can't unphase! I'm concentrating as hard as I can, but nothing's happening. I can't re-solidify my body. This is my fault. Kitty got hurt saving me. Oh, Sugar, I'm so sorry. If the X-Men must fall, Rogue, let it be while saving lives. I'm through taking lumps, Storm. I mean to dish some out. Vengeance can wait. Look around you. If we pursue the Marauders, most of our own wounded will die. Is that what you want? Right thing to say, boss. Too bad that don't help. I understand Rogue's anger, Logan. If she only knew how pale it is besides my own. Price of leadership is doing what's necessary, not what you want. My leadership has led us to bitter defeat. Happens, even to the best. I do not like to lose. Me neither, darling. But it's the war that counts, not a single battle. Cold comfort, my friend. I want you to stay behind, here in these tunnels. We know nothing of the Marauders. I require a prisoner for interrogation. No problem. What about the rest? One prisoner is sufficient. The remaining Marauders are yours. Next, grief. And there we go. That is X-Men. X-Men 210. Hopefully you enjoyed that through some of my bumbling reading. Epidoxus says it's interesting how much narration there is between the dialogue. Yeah, that's definitely a major thing that is a difference. Hold on one second. My dog is begging to go outside, so I'm gonna have to put on pause here. I'll be gone for, I don't know, 60 seconds, and then we'll get back into more stuff. Bear with me, please. Thank you so much for bearing with me, guys. Hopefully you're still, I didn't lose everyone. Going back to the chat, let's see. Maranya is here. Welcome, Maranya. I see Dominic Powell joined us as well. Good to see you. Let's see. I'll scroll up a little bit here. Ronnie says, well, damn, Peter is a badass. Yeah, did you like that scene? He just, this is where Peter flips. He's just like, you mess with my girl. Maverick's like, go get him, Peter. Dominic says, I'm impressed with how the narration is weaved in seamlessly with the dialogue, and they don't get cluttered with that. They have weight. Maverick's like, chills, man. I know this book set the tone of X-Men for me. And I don't know if you guys remember what the next issue looked like. It's one of my favorite X-Men covers ever. Let's see. I'll show it to you. Some of you probably know. 211. This is what I saw on the shelf that fateful day when I went and... Where is it? Oh, come on. This is what really sucks about having so many damn stupid... So, X-Men Legacy 2... It used to be this one, just one X-Men. Now it's like, which volume did you mean out of the 6 that there are? Oh, it's not 211. I'm getting my numbers mixed up. Is it 210? I think I got my numbers mixed up. Yeah, okay. So I have to amend something that I said earlier. I thought this was the issue that was after. This was the issue that was 4. So this was my first actual X-Men issue. The one I just read is 211. I got the numbers backwards. I thought, yeah, anyways. So this is what I saw on the shelf, though. And this is what got me. And, you know, as a 12 or 13-year-old boy, when you saw this on the shelf, like, this is how badass the X-Men are. So anyways, let's see. Dominic says, I enjoyed the live read. Thank you, sir. I kind of flub it up. Some of these older books are a little bit harder to read because they're not written in the way people normally speak. Also, the lettering is a little flawed because all of these books are hand lettered. And so sometimes it's not the best. Also, since I'm reading in these big zoomed in like panels, it's harder to read like panel by panel. When you can look at a page, you can kind of get a better sense of who's talking. And if I'm trying to do voices, a lot of the stuff can be challenging. Ronnie says, damn, I'm beginning to see why I missed by not reading the X-Men back in the day. Yeah. Yeah. And this series kicks it off. Let's see here. Let's see. A lot of words on each panel because Claremont is Bendis of that era. No, Jimmy. Morani says, but Claremont says a lot with those words. Comic Quirk says, no, he doesn't. I don't want to facepalm right now. Jimmy, there was more story in this issue than like 6 issues of Superman. Actually, I'll give it 36 issues of Superman. Like the whole what was it, that saga, Rogol Zar. More story happens in here. More character drama, more understanding of characters, characterization. A lot of the stuff is very important, and you can just pick up this book, and one of the things I love about it is you don't have to read the previous issues. Like, you want to, because you're like, ooh, what happened before? Why is Nightcrawler kind of sick? Why is Wolverine's powers like not working as good as they want? It kind of makes you want to know more. So you want, but you're easily brought up to speed by the writing, and you can follow along the story, and you can get a good sense of these characters and who they are and what matters to them. I know a lot of modern readers don't like the thought bubbles and stuff, but that inner monologue of characters thinking to themselves, this is the same type of trope that's used in novels a lot of times. You read you read a book and you'll hear the characters thinking to themselves because you get into their head. So, anyways, I completely disagree. And yes, Jimmy, he describes what's happening on the panel, even though you can clearly see. That's not entirely true. The panel shows you essentially one frame of what's happening. But let me get back. There was a part that I actually thought about that I wanted to point out. That's going to take forever now. Yeah, of course, it's not in my last read. But there was a panel where like they talked about in the narration where, there was like blood everywhere and stuff. But the panel didn't show the blood the way it was describing it because, of course, this was back in the Comics Code Authority and they couldn't show everything like they did. So you don't see everything. And also because it's one panel, it's not like a movie. There's more going on besides what can just be drawn on there. Just like when you're reading a book, a panel, what you see on the screen doesn't tell you what people are thinking, what the emotions are, and so forth. But anyways, Rania Valkonen says, it's entirely possible he did that to clue the artist. Also, books back in that era were read on two levels. Those who actually read the panels and those who followed the action and the art. Dominic says, exactly. Comics Course says, excuses. It's not an excuse, buddy. It's educating you on how comics have been. And Marania backs me up on there. Let's see. Ed says, I'm digging Storytime, Ash. Even picked up a few recommendations. Thanks. Appreciate that, Ed. Means a lot. Let's see. Marania says, I don't rag on Bendis because you like him, quirks. Let's see. Okay. Dominic says, thoughts on X-Men Grand Design by Ed Piskor. I have all of X-Men Grand Design, have not read them. It's definitely something I wanted to own because it's a summary of the X-Men era. That's the great X-Men era. But I didn't read them purposely because I have been pondering going back and reading the entire Chris Claremont run again. And I wanted to be as fresh. Like, I wanted to come into it as fresh as I could. And if I read Grand Design, it's going to remind me of all that stuff. So it's just sort of like filed away. I've heard it's really good, though. Let's see. Don, I can understand the art, and it's not for everyone. However, despite the choice of art, the story backs it up. I like John Romita Jr. I've always thought he was a good X-Men artist. He actually gets better later. In the post-Jim Lee era, when he comes back to X-Men, that was my favorite John Romita Jr. art. But I can understand. The last, if you were here last week, the issue I did 201 had Rick Leonardi. He was one of my favorite X-Men artists. Ronnie says, I miss the thought balloons. Those rectangle captions where they use today bother me because they're neither fish or foul. The rectangle boxes used to be for the outside narrator, not the characters. I agree. I think a lot of the craft of comics has started to fall by the wayside. I think a lot of modern creators have come into comics not because they love the medium, but because they just want to write for something else, but they can't, so they find themselves into comics. And so you got people that want to write books, or they want to write TV shows or movies or something else, but they fail. And so they find their way into comics, and they don't like the medium, so they try to transform the medium into something they like, and that rarely works. Of course, there's always exceptions to the rule, but that's one of my favorite. This is one of my favorite times of X-Men. The early 200s of X-Men is fantastic. And Marania, if you are thinking about checking this out, and you're not really sure where to pick up, I think issue like 200 or 199 is a really good starting point. I mean, you can really kind of jump in anywhere, but I jumped. Obviously, this is where I started, or 210 was where I started. But if you go back, this story picks up. I think it's 199. The early 190s is when Rachel Summers comes into the whole being, and then Magneto becomes. So this is like it kicks off a new era of X-Men, and you can see here Chris Claremont, by introducing the Marauders here in the Mutant Massacre, kind of he changes the rules, and this is where the X-Men become a little less clean, I guess would be the way to say it. So let's get on to our next book, the main event, the one that everyone's here for, to put you to bed and give you sweet dreams, have you dreaming about the Black Barn. Hopefully you've been following along. This is scenes from the previous issue. And here is issue 3. One thing I really liked about these covers, and I would only say this about independent books like this because I'm a big traditionalist superhero fan, but for these kind of books, obviously it's different and anything kind of goes. I love the roadmap, like the satellite picture of, of roads, but they kind of weave art into it. I think that's a really cool stylistic choice. And the fact that like every book does it and has that consistency. Eric says that I miss intermission. Good Lord, Eric, go back to watching baseball reruns. Eric used to be a good fan, and now he's just an antagonist. Are you a pod person, X-Men, Eric? Is that what happened? Where did the real Eric go? No, I just kid, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Anyways, that's just my commentary. I don't know how you guys feel about it. I just think it adds kind of a cool, creepy tone to it, and I like that uniformity when they all kind of do this thing. So, getting into the book. Oh, geez, there's a bunch of freaking ads. Oh, remember when this came out, Infidel? All right. Gideon Falls. Oh, I wasn't actually on the book. That was the preview for the next book. Silly Ash. Yes, let's read the next one. There we go. I should have noticed why the graphic was smaller. Gideon Falls by Jeff Lemire, Andre Sorrentino. We have a shot here of I don't know, close-up shot of a mug. Looks like a journal. Someone's thinking, got a pen in their mouth. Previously scratched out words. A book, alcohol. Pouring some whiskey into the mug. Putting it back on the shelf. Knock, knock. Sheriff? Father? May I come in? That depends. Are you going to arrest me again? Not today, Father. But who knows what the future may hold? Come on in. Coffee? No thanks, I'm good. I've already had like 3 cups this morning. Working on the Great American novel? If only. I'm trying to write my first sermon for Mass tomorrow, but I just can't focus. With everything that's happened, it's been one hell of a week, hasn't it? Sure has. Which, of course, is why I'm here. Oh? Yeah, so the lab work came back, and the blood on Father Tom matches Jean Tremblay's. Given the rest of what we know, it seems Father Tom was the killer. Seems? You don't seem convinced. Well, it just doesn't feel right, does it? You're asking my opinion? Yeah, I guess I am. Set some mug down. Well, nothing I knew about Father Tom would point to him being a cold-blooded killer. That's for sure. But the evidence is the evidence. Truth is, the whole thing is really shaking me up. I guess that's why I'm having such a hard time getting ready for Mass. What do I say to these people? The man they trusted all these years with their lives, with their faith, was a killer? Like I said, just doesn't feel right, does it? But I guess something like this never feels right. It's just so messed up. Indeed. Did I read that wrong? Nope. So anyways, the reason I came to apologize, there's no need. Given the circumstances, you were just doing your job. My story was rather unbelievable. Well, nonetheless, I wanted you to know that you've been cleared of any suspicion in the murder. But, well, Father Fred, it's just like you said. Gideon Falls is a tight-knit community. They give their trust to the church. They gave it to Father Tom, and this, well, given your past, I need to know that these people can trust you, Father. I need to know that I can. There was a time when I couldn't trust myself anymore, Sheriff. My past is my past. I'm here now. Is that supposed to reassure me? No. But it's as close to the truth as I can get. I'm not a murderer, so at least I'm an upgrade, right? I suppose so. Well, I'll let you get back to work, Father. Let's hope I get struck by divine inspiration soon, or it may be a long Mass. Speaking of which, will I see you at church tomorrow, Sheriff? Not really my style, Father. Be seeing you, though. She drives away. Personal journal, August 14. My hand has been forced. I don't like violence, but I've been left with no other choice. I have to defend myself. Someone has broken into my lab. Someone stole from me. They took precious things, my scalpel, part of the old doctor's kit that I purchased from the antique store on Jarvis Street last spring. It has been a trusted tool for dissecting and examining trash specimens. And speaking of my specimens, they also took 5 nails that I painstakingly sought out in the city's trash over the last few months. And finally, the intruder, or intruders, also found my drawings of the Black Barn. Oddly, they didn't take them all, just one of them. I can't leave my lab or move it somewhere new. I have nowhere else to go, so that only leaves me with one option. I must protect myself. I have rigged a floorboard just inside the door to collapse under any weight and set up a number of glass shards beneath that will easily cut through the soles of most shoes or boots. I have electrified the doorknob using copper wire and 4 car batteries that I found in the scrapyard near Carlton Street. Not enough charge to kill, but certainly enough to stun. Unfortunately, I can't set this up to work from the outside or when I leave the apartment, but it does provide extra security while I work and sleep. A jar containing a highly corrosive liquid compound that I mixed from the remnants of various household cleaning products and battery acid has been set in the middle of all my specimens and rigged to the shelving with a hidden string and wire. If anyone attempts to remove any of the specimen jars without unhooking the rig, the jar will tip, spilling the payload onto them. And finally, a mild explosive compound that I created from chewing gum, wax, and fertilizer will take the fingers off of anyone who tries to open my window from the outside. I am ready for them now. Let them come. Knock, knock. Holding a sledgehammer. Knock, knock. Who is it? Norton, it's me. It's Dr. Zhu. No, don't touch the doorknob. What? Just wait a moment, Dr. Zhu. Don't touch anything. Okay. Doctor, I never expected to see you here. Norton, can I come in, please? Of course, yes. Come in. And also, don't step there. Oh, okay. So this is it? This is your lab? Yes. Dr. Zhu? Norton, something has happened. I can't believe it. I've been sitting in a coffee shop for the last 3 hours trying to rationalize it, trying to make some sense of it. But there's no explanation. It happened, Norton. It happened to me. I saw it. I saw the black barn. Picture of the top of the chapel. Picture of a microphone. We can see the sermon is still blank as ever. Well, it's been quite a week, hasn't it? Not exactly the welcome I was expecting when I arrived in town. Right? Well, look, I'm just going to be honest with you people because I think that's what you need more now than anything. Packed house. What's happened here this week was horrible. Truly horrible. And when things like this happen, I know it's hard to make any kind of sense out of it. Why would God let this happen? And I know you're looking at me right now for some kind of answers, but I don't have any. I don't know what happened to Father Tom to make him, and I sure as hell don't know why God would let something like this happen. There are some mysteries that we may never know the answers to. Maybe we just aren't meant to. What I do know, what I do understand is that we still have each other. Events like this can pull a community apart. It's our responsibility to not let that happen. Mistrust and fear can be powerful motivators, but so can love and understanding. It's time to turn towards one another now for support and comfort, not turn against one another. Later, after the sermon, very nice to see you too, Mrs. Bromley. God bless you, Father Wilfred. Fred, please, call me Fred. I enjoyed the Mass very much, Father. I found your honesty refreshing. Oh, thank you. I think I saw you on my way into town. You drive the school bus? That's right. For 20 years now. Joe Reddy. This is my wife, Janet. Very nice to meet you, Joe. Janet. So where are you coming to us, Father? Well, I'm right up from this... Let me start over. Well, I'm up right from the seminary outside of the city, actually. But before that, I've traveled around a lot, bit of a vagabond. I've done some traveling myself recently. Really? Anywhere exciting? Oh, yes, quite. Offers him a cigarette. Or at least, I think is a cigarette. You should stop by our farm sometime. I could tell you all about it. Oh, yes, I'd like that. Janet and I would just love to have you, wouldn't we, hon? Uh-huh. We'll do that sometime. Great to meet you both. I mean it, Father. You should really stop by soon. Okay, thanks, Joe. I still don't quite understand, Doctor. You saw the barn for real? I mean, not in a dream? I've been seeing it in my dreams since I was a child, but it was no dream. I told you. It was just there in the middle of the street. And then the door opened, and then there was a dark figure. He was dark, but not like a silhouette. Darker. Like the absence of light. The only thing I could make out was a smile, a terrible smile. It felt so real, Norton. That's because it is. I told you, and now you believe me. Wait, I never said that. What do you mean? You saw it, just like I do. No, Norton. I don't know what it was or how this has happened to me, but there has to be some explanation. There have been recorded instances of shared psychosis before. This has nothing to do with the psychosis. It's nothing to do with my mind or yours. This is real. Like I've always told you, the barn is real, and now it's chosen you too. Norton, stop it. No, I'm finding it, Dr. Zoo, bit by bit. Maybe together we can solve the puzzle. I should have never come here. I should have never indulged you this or you. Wait, no, I mean stop, there's a booby trap. What? Sorry, it's a security measure. Norton, I suggest you pack a bag tonight. Tomorrow you're coming back to the hospital. I have to report everything. I know that you won't do that, Doctor. What? You won't report it because you've seen it. And now, no matter what you say to try and rationalize it, I know that deep down, you know that it's real. Back in the church, it's nighttime. Father Fred. Something in the floorboards. Huh? Father Tom. Some extras. I have doubles of the most of these, so I thought you could hold on to them for safekeeping in case anything happens to me. See you at the next meeting, Doc. You should really go see Doc Sutton. Neighbors report sightings of mysterious disappearing building. It's in the newspaper. See a picture of the first meeting of the plowmen, October 12th, 1924. And then a picture of some kid, missing child last seen entering unidentified barn. Post office box, mailbox. It says Sutton. We see Father Fred walking in the rain. Knock, knock. Hello? Sorry to bother you. Is this Dr. Sutton's residence? Ha! A priest! You're a priest! That I am. Is Dr. Sutton in? He is. Come in. I was expecting you. You were? Yes, well, not you exactly, but someone I just never thought we'd get this lucky. A man of the cloth so soon after losing Tom. This is the best news I've had all week. Ha! I knew he'd send someone. Who? Who would send someone? Well, God, of course. Who else? God? Excuse me, sir, but is the doctor here? I'm Dr. Sutton. Didn't you figure that out yet? Bit slow on the uptake, eh? Well, I'll still take you. I need to get all the help I can get. You see, Padre, we got us a war going on here in Gideon Falls. Look at that. A war? Of course, a holy war. We're fighting for the soul of Gideon Falls, and you, Father, you are our newest soldier. Fade to black. All right. So, that is Gideon Falls, issue 3. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed that. It's kind of a little freaky tale. Here's the cover for the next issue. Yeah, so it was pretty cool. I just love these roadmap covers. They're really neat. It's time to go back to the chat. Where did I leave off? Let's see. Eric probably thinks it's still intermission time. Let's see. Um, Dominic says, most people are not huge fans of change for change's sake. Yeah, for sure. Ronnie says, very short one. Okay. Ronnie also says, I like the things that are on multiple levels with art, Ash. Yeah, me too. I totally agreed. Ed, interesting cover art. Ed says, the voices really make the story for me. Thanks, man. I am certainly no voice actor. And I really can't do accents. So it's kind of funny. Like maybe like one of the few I can do is like little bit of a southern drawl, and I can do a little bit of like stereotype Russian. It's not like real Russian. It's just like movie Russian. But and it just so happens that seems to work a lot. But I can't do a lot of stuff. So I make do with what little talent I have. Let's see. Ronnie says the art to me looks a bit like lightbox tracing of photos, at least for the people and some details. Yeah, I can see that. Ronnie, a person who speaks first should be the left side of the panel, not the right side. That's how people read. Yeah. Modern comics don't. Again, it's the craft is falling by the wayside. Yeah, the panel, she looks pregnant. I was thinking that too when I was reading it, but I just didn't want to stop. Comics, of course, says Andre Sorrentino is a modern master. He's only a modern master to people who only know the last 10 years of comics. Like, quirks, no. Let's see. This issue's pretty insane. I love it. Yeah, this issue's picking up. It's very slow burn. I'm appreciating it though, because this is kind of how a horror comic, or not just a horror comic, a horror story needs to work. It needs to build up. And you need to, in my opinion, you need to get into the characters. Two of my favorite horror, I'll talk about movies because I don't really read like horror novels or anything, but two of my favorite horror movies, my number one favorite horror movie is The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing from 1980. And then Alien, Ridley Scott's original Alien from, I think that was 1979. Both of those movies are sort of like, they're like a clinic on how to do a horror film. And one of the things that both of them do really well is before the horror really begins, you have like a whole first act of just getting to know these characters. You know, they're and just seeing them in their daily lives doing normal shit. You know, it's just and it can seem on the surface to be kind of boring, but what it does is it gets you to care about these people, so that when the shit starts hitting the fan, you actually care about what happens to them. And one of the failures of a lot of modern horror movies, and why I generally don't give horror movies the time of day, is because they don't even do that. They rely on like, either they rely on like shock, like what do they call it, the scare, where it's there's a term for it that I'm blanking out. It's like a shock scare or something. You know, it's like with jump scare. That's what it's called, the jump scare, where something just jumps on the screen and it startles you because you weren't expecting it. Or they rely on like gore and, you know, just graphic, you know, visuals to like, ooh, look at how scary this is. You're seeing someone getting chopped into pieces, and yeah, that can be pretty horrific. But sometimes the movies can be much more intense if you just care about what's going on. You don't even see the horror, you know. So I'm liking, my point is I'm liking where this book is going, because it what just happened? That's so funny. I got a pop-up for ad remover because I installed ad remover, so now it makes pop-ups for ad remover. So stupid. Anyways, where was I? This type of story, you're building on these characters and getting to know who they are, so that you care about their exploits. And I'm very curious to see how this first act goes. And this is also the kind of horror movie, or not movie, but if I treat it like a movie, I'm a big fan of horror in the more traditional classical sense, like H.P. Lovecraft horror. Not necessarily like violence and blood and gore, but the sense that there's an impending doom, that is unescapable, and that sense of foreboding. That's like the true horror, and this is doing it. I think Gideon Falls could make a good movie, possibly a TV series if it was on some sort of mature network, because it would have to be. You couldn't just do this on network. And that's kind of my problem with it. If I were to critique it as a comic book, is it feels like it's written to be picked up by HBO or Netflix, right? Like it doesn't feel like, hey, we love comics and we're going to make a great comic. We're going to make a treatment. And going back to the comments of like Andrea Sorrentino's art and stuff being like lightbox tracing, I'm not sure if that necessarily is the case. It could be, but it is very static, right? It's very, let's see if I can take off the guided view here and go back to, if we look, the art here, it's always at eye level, right? So this would be your typical camera level, and it's shooting from the same angle all the time. I'm going backwards through the book. But notice, the camera angle never changes. This is a no-no of comics. This is not how you do comic art. In comics, you aren't bound by cameras. You can literally have the point of view be anywhere. So your straight-on shot like this should always be used as for no other reason. Like if you don't have, if you don't have any other reason to not use it, like this should be kind of like your last resort. Anyways, you can see on a flat page like this, it's just people standing around, having coffee, talking about the shit. This is not what the medium of comics is meant for. Now, does it tell a story? For sure. Can it be enjoyable? 100%. But I give it a pass only because of its nature. But I'm not going to jump through the moon and be impressed from its visual storytelling ability, because it's really not. This is like storyboarding, and storyboarding is not the same as comics. So anyways, I've lectured enough on that. I am enjoying it though. I don't know if you've been seeing when I'm rating the comics at the end, I've been giving it 4 stars. I do think Lemire's writing is really solid. He has a really good sense of dialogue, and he's got a really good sense of not overdoing the dialogue. It's like, and this is like the problems, and I'm not looking to bash Bendis, but one of the critiques that both Bendis and Tom King has this as well, and other creators too, that I just aren't as popular as those two, have this problem where it's like you can almost feel like the writer is really self-impressed with their writing, and so the characters overly talk in a way that's not real, and they're just blabby all the time, and they're like just impressed with the words they're putting on the paper, where that's not how people talk. I know that's how I talk, because I'm trying to fill a YouTube show, but you know what I'm saying? Like but Lemire uses a lot of restraint. It's a lot of, the writing seems like just enough to get the conversations, and they feel like, you're interested in hearing the dialogue and the characters. And I could see this being a movie. Like I would be following along, with what they're doing and saying. So that's my thing. I think Andre Sorrentino is good for this particular book. I think, his style lends to this sort of creepiness. It lends to that H.P. Lovecraft. You could do an H.P. Lovecraft illustrated comic, and I would see Andre Sorrentino be, perfect. So yeah, it's good. I'm really looking forward to seeing how it develops, though, because right now it's still kind of in the opening stages. It's still setting stuff up, and I want to see how it actually executes. Let's see. Man of Action, good to see you, bud. Thanks for stopping by. Let's see. He says they did this for their TV show pitch. This isn't a good comic book. Okay. Man of Action says, reminded me of storyboards for a show. What? Yeah, that's what I was just talking about. Marani says, feels like frozen frames of a film. Yes. And that's not just these guys. Like, that's like the modern trend, is to think of it like a TV show or a movie and just put it as storyboards. And like I said, you can tell a story that way. It's not necessarily a crime. And so for Gideon Falls, like I said, I give it a pass. But if this was Captain America, I'd be like, no. If it's Spider-Man, no. You know, like I'm saying? And that's a lot of times where you're going to see older comic fans like myself getting all bitchy about what's going on. It's because that's what we're talking about. And I'm only using Gideon Falls to just point out this is what it's doing. It doesn't have to follow any rules because it's an independent book that can make its own rules. That's fine. So that's my opinion and what I see. So you might agree with some of it. You might disagree with some of it, but that's part of the fun, is just hearing how different people have perspective on things. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I certainly do enjoy it. But my favorite part is getting to talk to you guys and see what your thoughts are. I think for the most part, I honestly agree with a lot of what you guys say. So there's not really any debate for me, if you will. So next week we're going to do Gideon Falls issue 4. And then we're also going to do, see if I can find it. This is my Comixology, what do you call it? Bookshelf or whatever. So this will be the next, we'll do X-Men 266. You know, what's really funny about this issue is this is like a key issue for collectors. If you ever can find this issue, it's the first appearance of Gambit. This was during the Jim Lee era, but it was like when Jim Lee was on a break, so they had the fill-in artist. And it's like it's not good art. You know, you're just like, really? So the key issue, the chase issue that people want of this particular time period is but it'll be interesting actually to kind of go through this, because it's still Chris Claremont writing, and to see how the art affects your enjoyment of the book. I wonder if these are marijuana leaves. Look at it. Does that look like a marijuana leaf right there next to Storm's hand? So Quirks, thanks for coming by. Always good to see you. Hopefully you got some enjoyment out of those books, even though you didn't agree with all my point of view. And this is really going to wrap it up anyway, so it's kind of picking a good time. I really like you guys showing up and giving me support. I could sit there and blab all night, but that would just make for a terrible episode. I got my computer up and running, so like I said, next time things should be smoother. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. If I could figure out how to wrap this stuff up. I just want to thank everyone again. Follow me on Twitter at Ash1138 if you care to. I also have a Discord server that most of you guys are on. And if you're not and you want to be, hit me up. And I hope I'll see you on the next stream. Like, subscribe, all that normal stuff if you care to. And have a good night.